Alright, everyone, welcome back to another stream here. We're doing a Real News Anarchy. We're going to go have another live stream here of the Seattle, now it's called the CHOP, it was the CHAZ, and we're going to be monitoring the situation there because there's now been actual murders happening there, apparently. So it's getting crazier, and we're going to keep monitoring it, see if anything interesting happens. But there's a lot of news going on. We just had a big Trump rally, his first one in, I mean, a long time. So that was really cool to see that again. What did you guys think of the rally?
I personally was enthralled. I'd never watched one live before, but it was the best comedy special that I've seen in a long time. It was great. And he had some really good. I actually clipped some stuff for my channel, which has nothing to do with my channel, but I liked what he said so much. So it was great. I enjoyed it. Anybody else?
It was good. I liked it. It was that like I felt like we needed a Trump rally again. Like it's that point. It's that time of the year, or it's that time in just American history where we just like need a good rally again.
I agree. That's what it felt like that to me too. That's a good way to put it, Phil.
And everybody was saying, you had a whole lot of people that were like taking pictures of the rally and seeing that it wasn't packed or whatever. But like there were protesters that were basically blocking the entrances that were keeping people from actually going in, for starters. And second, from what I've been seeing, it looks like on the social media platforms alone, about a little over 4.2 million people viewed the rally from social media platforms. That's not counting any of the mainstream networks that played it. So yeah, it got pretty popular. Like those numbers, 4.2 million, that alone would be one of the hottest, shows on cable television. But
I think this was a. Go ahead, Donnie. I'm sorry.
No, honestly, it was the best stand-up I've seen in a long time. It was really fun. It was hilarious. He was very coherent, unlike Joe Biden. He's actually moving around and making jokes on stage. It was really exciting, and I think a lot of people were ready to see a rally, and Trump didn't disappoint. And then I liked how at the end, closer to the end, he said that Biden, getting rid of him will be the first step for racial justice. And I shared that because I was like, that was savage.
That was savage as fuck, man.
And he did say, he's like, oh, this is an okay speech. I'm sorry, Trump. I'm giving you an A+. Just saying.
Yeah, ditto. He said average. I consider this one average. God, I wish I could do a Trump impression, dude. But to touch back on the actual attendance numbers, I was seeing on Twitter earlier, because Twitter is a reputable source, right? I mean, it's the internet.
Yeah.
But I think it was actually Mr. Medicare, or Mr. Anti-Bully, rather, was saying something about how there was like a TikTok campaign of anti-Trumpers that were buying tickets, reserving tickets to not go, so that it would look like, like it did, which is funny because one of the Navy generals was just recently talking about Chinese subversion through social media. So, I mean, I think it was a resounding, from what I saw, it was excellent. It was no slip-ups that I could, no major ones that I could catch. And yeah, he, like Donnie said, he was so coherent and funny and real. All the things that everybody that fell in love with him originally, were on display.
I actually want to touch on the tickets thing because that's something I've had experience with, that I've seen a bunch of fake news articles about, and it's really kind of annoying me because these journalists either have no clue what they're talking about, or they're deliberately lying, or they're just being lazy, not doing their homework. The way the ticket system works for the Trump rise is how a lot of big events with lots of people work, especially when it's free, I should add. The Trump rallies are free. Anybody can come. And they sell unlimited tickets. And when you have an unlimited free ticket model, the point of it is, because people say, well, why do you need a ticket then? What's the point? The point is to get a head count, to know how many people are going to be coming. So let's say you have a venue that holds 1,000. You want to make sure you get enough people to fill that 1,000. And most of the time, you sell more tickets than people actually show up. Usually you have to sort of double how many seats you have with tickets. So if you have 1,000 capacity room, you're going to want to sell 2,000 tickets most likely. And when you're seeing these news reports like, oh, Trump claims he sold 1 million tickets, but the venue only holds 20,000, whatever it was. These people have no clue what they're talking about, or they're deliberately being deceptive, because that's how the system he sets up works, and that's how lots of free events work. You get a head count, and it's a great way to track, if you're on track with ticket sales. And if you need some overflow spaces, we're going to have to know how many people are going to expect for those. So I just saw so many people jumping on that, and I'm like, it was just a little frustrating. So I'm like, and some people that should know better.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually didn't think about that. I'll tell you one of the. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
I feel like this is going to be a problem, though. Like, you're going to see a lot of like moving forward. I can definitely see some of these protesters start getting more aggressive, because in their mind they're going to say, "Oh, well, this totally worked. We just basically we disrupted this Trump rally."
Yeah.
And so they're probably going to continue it because they think it's going to work. Unfortunately, it's probably going to that's going to fail miserably, because for every for every one action there's an equal or opposite reaction. So
they're
there
gonna
will
have
be
a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, people, like, whenever one side does something that catches somebody else off guard, you're usually not going to be able to catch them off guard again. Like, so I think the Trump team will be much more well versed in handling the situation the next time around. And yeah.
Well, what's interesting is I'm getting some flashbacks to 16, because in 16 we had Trump rallies in Chicago and I think another city when Black Lives Matter was still a thing, and rallies were getting shut down and canceled, and there was violence at some rallies. It was pretty bad. I mean, it was like freaking helter-skelter. And, well, we thought that was helter-skelter. Look what we have now. And the thing about that, too, was what's crazy to think about, and I had an interesting thought last night that I'll bring up, too. Last night, or today, we saw a similar thing as 2016. Look, Black Lives Matter once Trump won, Black Lives Matter pretty much disappeared from the headlines, but they magically came back in time for the election. And they're magically almost canceling Trump rallies like they did in 16 when they actually canceled them. Is this not socially engineered, or is it not? I mean, this is the most engineered movement I've ever seen. And to add on to this, I had a thought last night, and I was talking to Alex a little bit, which is, hey, Nathan in the chat, which is what we're seeing, like, we saw the Democrats go from, oh, we need police reform, oh, now we need to fund the police, to the next day, oh, now we need to abolish the police. And what if what this all is part of a big plan where they think, if we get people to defund and abolish police, what's going to happen? You're going to have more bad cops come in. What happens if you have more bad cops come in? Or you're just going to have no cops working anywhere, at some of these places. They're just going to quit. They're not even going to bother. They're going to say, fuck this, it's not worth it. So you're going to have cops leave, or you're going to have bad cops come in to fill that void. And what happens when you have bad cops? You're going to have more George Floyds. You're going to have more Trayvon Martins, or whatever it is, even though that's a different case. But you get my point. I should just keep it with George Floyd, actually. But you're going to have more George Floyds. And if you have more George Floyds, you're going to have more Black Lives Matter. You have more Black Lives Matter, you have more automatisms, you have more of the shit we're seeing right now. I think this is all, they're trying to accelerate this and make this even crazier, more radical. That's what I think this is all about, this whole defund the police and abolish the police thing is.
Now, wasn't there some article I remember seeing, I think a year or two back, where like the largest Black Lives Matter like public groups was founded by some dude in Australia, like an internet troll?
I remember hearing that. Yes, it was like one of the
So,
largest Facebook accounts.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. This thing seems like it's definitely, like what you're mentioning, it's definitely engineered. I think the Democrats, with the Act Blue, they're working this, and they always say to vote. And they don't say who to vote for, but you know who they want you to vote for. They want you to vote for a Democrat.
Well, no,
You-
there were definitely Trump Pence out signs like at the rally, or well, outside the rally with the protesters. They were very anti-Trump, anti-Pence. You know what direction they're going in.
Well, what would be an excellent move on these guys' parts would be to go and put, like, for Trump to go and have the rally at the in Seattle, like right next to the CHOP. That would be that would be awesome, because it would provoke these people to do something, which would then provoke Trump to go and do something back. Like, it would be an excellent political play. It would make the Black Lives Matter and Antifa, wherever these people are, it will make them look disingenuous and dangerous.
Those some of my favorite parts of his speech tonight that I was laughing the most at was, first he brought up Seattle, and he said emphatically that he may be wrong, but he thinks we should just let it play out,
I totally agree.
so that we can all see the savagery that is in store for democratic rule, which I thought was funny. But then he, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you. I also like the way he delivered it. He said that I could get rid of this thing in less than an hour. But
Yeah, the way
these
he
guys
built
are all
that.
telling me, yeah, he's like these guys are telling me, no, just
Yeah.
you let them play out their. I like how he delivered it. That delivery was on point.
Yeah, because he talked about how he went and helped in Minneapolis, and he activated, the National Guard, and in 1 hour, they had the situation effectively under control. Now, that may be an exaggeration. I don't know exactly, but it sure sounded good, and it worked. 2 minutes later when he pulled up the 1 hour thing again, and then 20 minutes later when he pulled up the 1 hour thing again. I mean, like, that's what I mean. It was like a perfect stand-up routine.
Yeah,
like he was dropping C's at the beginning that he was pulling back up later. And it was funny, and it was true, and it was good.
That's always a great analogy to it, because I remember when I saw him in person at CPAC, you can feel him, playing off the energy of the crowd. You can feel him connecting with people. It's something else to see him in person. On TV is great, but in person, like it does, because I've seen some stand-ups in person too. It feels like a stand-up in person where they're working the crowd, and it's like, wow, it's something else.
Commanding the energy.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, like I mentioned, maybe it was pre-show, but this was the first actual live rally that I've watched of his, and I could actually feel it through my computer screen. The way he, like, his hand motions and stuff, very, like, subtly controlling the crowd without saying, calm down, thank you, calm down. Like one hand up or two hands up, you know what I mean? Let the people.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to see.
Well, you notice too is like, because that's a good point, because you notice like when Bernie gets Black Lives Matter hijack his rallies, nobody fucking hijacks Trump. Nobody. Not even the alt-right.
Even the people in the crowd.
He's got some pretty big volunteers, like working the building too. So
well, but even though, like, I noticed people like supporters in the crowd would try to, like,
protect him.
yell something positive in the middle of his sentence, and he would, like, not only not break stride, but he would, like, put a hand up or, like, look that direction, like, hold on a second. It's brilliant. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Well, we got our friend in now.
Yes, we have a new guest here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Firecracker.
All right. Hey, Elite SWAT Cow, I see you in the chat.
Joshua
Okay.
Reagan, Antifa rats. Yeah, you're right. Shrek. Howdy, Shrek King. What?
It's a friend of mine.
That's funny.
You know, but I posted an article. If Trump wanted to go and disrupt these rallies, there's this interesting device called the active denial system. I'm wondering if Trump would consider trying that out, because that's a really easy way to relatively safely incapacitate a large crowd of people.
What is that? Can
You talking about it? Is
It's
that the
kind of-
microwave or the sound wave?
Yeah, I think it's the microwave one.
Wait. Do they like shoot like microwaves on the BLM?
I don't know.
Have you ever played Call of Duty? They have a sort of similar concept in there, but pretty much, yeah, they shoot like a microwave at your skin, so it makes you want to go away. It's not. It won't cook you instantly, like it's just hot and annoying, apparently. But it would be interesting to go and see that used as a crowd control device.
Board Troll in the chat says, "Shit, I drive through with a soy latte truck and lead them off like a Pied Piper." Oh
will do
god, you're not a very boring troll. I'll give you that. Your name does not live up to your statements. Donnie, Board Troll then asked Donnie, "You got any yoga videos on your channel? What the fuck?"
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, yeah, this guy.
That's a weird one.
Are we?
All
Should we
right.
block him?
Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, I don't know if you should block it. He's just fucking trolling.
Yeah.
Tell him to shut the fuck up, but you know.
Yeah. Please don't do that, guys, in the chat. Let's keep
It
it.
took us long enough to get like one girl to come on here. We don't need to.
Yeah, we don't need to lose them already. Simping, yeah, Joshua Reagan's right. We got a simp here. Yeah, what do you guys think of the term simp, by the way? I've seen some people that hate that term and some people that like it or use it. Some people say like it kind of hijacks the term cuck.
It's similar to cuck, but it's in a different circumstance. You know, it's like the cuckold likes watching the girl, have sex with the other person, but the simp, he doesn't really like it, but he'll do it anyway. Like he'll deal with this like fucking woman. Like he just puts the pussy on the pedestal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty true. It's like Prince Harry's the biggest one alive. He's a royal simp.
Yeah. I don't know. The more terms to describe cuck, I think is a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, we're getting some more activity on the chop. People are walking down the streets. And somebody in chat said that somebody was shot in the hand when they were trying to film in the chop.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
No,
I'm telling you.
There's people shooting, then Trump needs to send his buddies out and just go and wreck it.
Get the Proud Boys.
We need to get the fucking Proud Boys over here.
Yeah, bring back the Proud Boys.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets too bad, like when there's more people losing their lives or going to the hospital or whatever, then you have to. I mean, really, you have to do something. But if it's just burning buildings or if it's looting, look, you made your bed, now you gotta lie in it. You voted these assholes in, right? Look, the people said Seattle, they voted these they voted these
rejects,
nut jobs Democrats in, and now they're paying the price.
Well, that's what Gavin even said.
Weak.
What were you saying, Phil?
They're weak. They're weak. These are weak freaking people. You when you vote for a leader, you vote for a leader that you think is going to be strong during these kinds of situations, right? And people, and the thing is, when you're a leader and your opposition smells weakness, it gives them the green light to keep going, right? They don't care because they know you're not going to do anything, or you're going to do something so little that they can overpower you. It's like, well, what are you going to do?
Well, I was just listening to Gavin McGinnis's podcast. He's the former head of the Proud Boys, and he was even saying, I'm not part of the Proud Boys anymore, but my advice to you guys is don't get involved. Let them eat themselves. And that's my perception, too, is literally just, because I've seen some split opinions on the right about this. There are people that are mad that Trump isn't doing anything, And it's like, well, first of all, again, if you guys want states' rights and local government rights, well, it's got to be done at those levels first. And secondly, I think it's a smarter, more effective strategy to let them eat their own, to show people the destruction, to show people the anarchy on the left, to show them the real left. Because that's what this is. This is the real underpinnings of the left. I mean, this shit was happening in Occupy Wall Street. Andrew Breitbart did a movie on it, a documentary, but nobody really talks about that, and I didn't even really know a lot about that till recently. So, you know, and you can even see here, the funniest part too is what they build in the fucking CHOP was a wall. You see it on these like top 2 camera feeds right here, and they wrote like BOM on it, but they have like it's a crappy wall, but hey, they needed borders, they needed, you know, a lot of things that those evil American and countries and Western countries have. Yeah, American imperialists have, yeah.
Well, you know what we should go and do is maybe have Trump, like, I don't know if there's a way you can press people into service, but have these people work on a real wall on, like, the southern border, because, you know, they like to build walls, so why not?
Yeah.
You know? They're obviously unemployed, or else they wouldn't be out there. So it would increase the unemployment, especially it would decrease unemployment, especially among whatever group these people are. I don't know, disabled. Some of them, I imagine, you know, a lot of them are probably white, but you know, there's probably a few minorities in there. But you know, it would be a good thing for the economy. Force them to go and build a wall.
Well, we should also force them to rebuild those statues they're tearing down.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You know what this reminds me of? When I was in 4th grade, we did like a model community. We did a model city. And, you know, we had stores and walls and police and, you know, an economy. And it's like, that's exactly what they're doing, like on a 4th grade level. It's kind of funny. It's instead of CHOP, I think they should call themselves CHUMP.
Yeah.
That's too close to Trump.
But yeah, the Trump does have the. I mean, they always say that Trump doesn't have the authority to come in there. It's like, oh well, technically, he kind of does. Not only does he have the authority with like the the Insurrection Act, but he doesn't even have to do that if you really want to think about it, because what they're doing right now, what Antifa, or not Antifa, what these RAZ and CHAZ or whatever they want to call themselves, what they're doing is sedition. It's sedition, and that's a federal crime. By
kidnapping, kidnapping.
Yeah, but I mean that especially sedition specifically is a federal crime, which means he could at any time in his choosing, if he wants to, he could send the feds in there and unleash the wrath of God on them at a moment's notice. But it just wouldn't make sense right now. It just wouldn't make any sense to do it.
Yeah, Firecracker, now that you're on, you ready to go and do that drug discussion?
Yeah, whenever you're ready, sure.
All right, guys, we want to keep on going for this a little bit, or do you want to start that bad boy up?
We'll start up. I think I'll spice things up. No pun intended with that kind of. But what I think what we should first do is let's all sort of state our position on drugs. So we have a clear understanding of where we're all coming from, and then kind of dive into it, and maybe a little bit of our backgrounds on it, our relationships with it. Maybe that, well, if you care to, I shall say. So how about we start down the line? Was that okay? Everybody's in. Yep. Alex, why don't you go first?
All right. You know, my position is that we should go and allow all drugs which are of the hallucinogenic class, and not including stuff like PCP, because that one does have known alternative effects. But you know, I don't think we should legalize meth at this time, or really ever, except for like I think you can actually technically get it if you're like ADHD or whatever. That's fine. But I'm thinking like hallucinogens are fine. Marijuana, you know, it's a losing battle to be against it now anyways. There's already enough bullshit going on. I think this would be a good sort of fight for liberty to go and offer these things, and just it would save money, not only, you know, any potential tax revenue, but just the fact we won't have to be policing over this. My relationship with drugs, I do not wish to disclose that.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I was talking for like 5 minutes, and I was like, man, why does everybody keep interrupting me? You couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're unusually quiet.
Yeah. What was the question, actually?
It was basically about, and I'll do that as I play a video that our pal in the chat. Sorry, I'm slipping on your names. I'm multitasking here. Louisville conservative. I'm gonna pull up your video. The woman getting shot, in the hand at the CHOP.
Are we allowed to do that on YouTube? I'd be careful with
Well,
that.
it is a YouTube video actually.
Okay. Well,
You can't really see much on the video too, but I'm gonna pull that up and play that. Basically, what we're doing is we're doing a little drug discussion thing. Oh, actually, I should not pull this. This has blood on it. Don't scratch that.
I did catch the drug part, but I was just wondering what is our stance on drugs?
Yes,
Basically?
we're going down the line.
Okay.
Everybody says their stance, and if they want to, their relationship with drugs or their past experiences, not necessarily with themselves, maybe people around them. So we all kind of know where we're all coming from on and where our positions are.
Okay. Should I go?
Yep. Yeah, sure. Might as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I at least discussed this in private with some of you, if not on the show, to some degree. But I'm kind of on the fence with like hardcore libertarian, and more with. I'm sorry. I think that was Alex that just answered, because I do think that there's some danger, but. I think it shouldn't be about restriction. It should be about education, and people really should be free to do whatever they want. And this is coming from a long time drug addict that is, will forever be recovering, like any addict of anything. It's something I struggle with every day, but it's not something that I think should be restricted. I wish that I would have been taught more things and shown more, fathered more. It wasn't about the drugs were an escape. They could be replaced with anything, including sweets or exercise. I mean, it could be replaced with positive things too. I think drug addiction and depression in general are symptoms of a larger or deeper problem in individuals and society in general. So I don't think that any of them should be illegal, honestly. I think that they should be, I think cocaine should be grown in America as I mean, I think it should all be grown and sold here if it could be. Therapeutic needs, because there's, as mentioned by Alex, the potential for psychedelics on so many levels medically is, it's been hard to do studies on it for decades now, but finally there's a lot of positive evidence for PTSD and various things. So yeah, I'm very pro drug. I'm very anti abuse of anything, and it's a hard line to draw personally, because clearly there's a drug problem. I've had one for a long time.
Nathan in the chat says that you'd probably love the Liberty Hound. Which I guess is a YouTube channel.
Maybe check it out.
I'm unfamiliar, but that's my answer. Sorry for being long-winded as usual.
No, I think that's that's definitely going to bring an interesting perspective. Phil, do you want to go next?
Oh, you just jumped everybody else, huh?
Whoa, hey. Well, maybe we're going alphabetically. I don't know. Well, who wants? If you want to go next, you can. If not, somebody else can.
Maybe you, Dexter.
Oh, really? Oh, I guess. Oh, yeah, we are. How about we do go alphabetically? Then yes, it'll be me. Okay, I'll say my views are evolving on drugs. They're not final, but currently, in my ideal world, no drug would be legal. But it's an ideal, so it doesn't really matter. In this current world, I think marijuana is a losing battle. I don't want it legalized, but it is a losing battle. I think medical marijuana is a good thing because if it's helping people, well, it's helping people. I think the research in hallucinogens is very interesting and could have some potentially good stuff coming out of that, where they're using hallucinogens to cure people of certain issues and diseases and problems. I forget them specifically, but 60 Minutes did a piece on that. Hard drugs like cocaine, meth, shit like that, I think should be 100% illegal. And I'm trying to think of other nuances because there are different layers here. I've never done any drugs. I never will. I hate it. I hate what it does to people for the most part. I think it's like Apex was saying, it is reflective of a larger issue with society. And I mean, it's something that I wish we gotta kind of, I think my stance more is, I don't like the legalization because it kind of normalizes it more and makes people think it's okay more, and that's my issue, really, and that's kind of my general sort of umbrella of my stance, is that I don't like the sort of more normalization of drugs that's happening, even though I think psychedelics are probably the only thing I think that could have some positive effects, other than medical marijuana.
I want to piggyback on that real quick before we move on to Donnie, and just give my ideal world perspective, as you just did. In my ideal world, all drugs would be legal, but nobody would do them. Nobody would want to do them.
That would also be my ideal world, technically, too. Yes.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. But sorry.
Yeah, it's good to bring up. Donnie, what's your stance?
Yeah, real quick, that Richard Einstein dude, I don't know if we want to go and like...
Yeah, let's put him in timeout. That is not kosher.
You disavow.
Yeah, strong disavow. Man, we're getting all kinds of fringes tonight, let's say. But Donnie...
That might be my fault. That might be my Twitter's fault. Sorry.
All right, Donnie. You're up.
Donnie, your turn. Okay, she might have stepped out for a while.
I think it's happened to her too. No, it shows she's talking, but we can't hear her. Yeah, she might need to leave. Bail out the call, Donnie, and come right back.
Okay.
So,
yeah, there we go.
A hard drug? What's going on with that?
What?
Consider cocaine a hard drug?
Well,
hey, look.
Yeah.
Hey, look.
Yeah.
I used to do drugs. Okay. I used to do drugs, but that was way back in the day. And by way back in the day, I mean like right before the show. So,
wow.
Look, I'm telling you, look, a line of Coke off a toilet seat, that is a great pick-me-up. You know?
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, she came in at the right time.
You know what? What's up, Donnie? You're up.
I don't think marijuana should be illegal. Everything else, I don't really know much about it, so I have no opinion on those drugs. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have been lied to, but I could have sworn marijuana was illegal because hemp was competing with paper.
There's a lot of theories about that. I'm not exactly sure.
That's pretty, I mean, in my mind, at least from the research I've done over the years, that's pretty accurate from, I mean, it's not proven. There's nobody on paper that says this is why, hemp is illegal, but yeah, I mean, it sure looks that way when you look back on moves made and deals made, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now my question with that,
that's where it started, but go ahead.
My question with hemp right now, though, is like, can't you go and buy like rope made of hemp and then like CBD and stuff?
Yeah, you can. In Texas.
Yeah, hemp is the root, and CBD is entirely non-psychoactive. So it doesn't have any of the. It's from the plant, but it doesn't have any of the, THC.
Yeah, I like the. I have a couple friends that are kind of like those little hemp weirdos. Like, look, man, I got like a hemp shirt and a hemp like man purse, man. It's like, wow. I'm like, okay, all right.
It's like those dudes you see at markets that have like everything made of hemp, like a hemp shirt, a hemp underwear, hemp socks, hemp like condom. It's like, yeah, no, get the fuck out with that.
Like, yes, I got this like. I also got like a Grateful Dead record, man. And I was playing it.
They're usually culturally appropriating Rastafarian culture while they're doing that.
That's true. Donna, you want to wrap up what your stance is overall?
Overall, I think that just that marijuana should be legal. But I think there should be more research on it. There's already more research going into it, which is great. But every other drug, I don't know anything really about it, so I don't have like a. I've heard bad things about the other drugs, so I'm just gonna say neutral for now.
That's fair. That's perfectly fair. Then we have, it looks like Firecracker, you're next. What is your stance on drugs?
So, after listening to you guys, it sounds like you have some really sound opinions on it. And I mean, nothing that I really don't agree with at all. I think I was just triggered by a couple things last week that were said, like, oh, all drugs should be legal and I don't see any problems with drugs. And I think that just triggered me because I have a long, intimate relationship with drugs. Really only did them for a short time in my life. I've been clean, going to meetings every day of my life for 33 years. So I tried most drugs and it destroyed my life. I went through school, San Diego State. I flunked out my first year because I got super addicted to cocaine. My boyfriend was a cocaine dealer by design, on purpose.
Wow.
And then like I got struck clean in 1981. Just struck clean. Never did another drug again, but I never went to a program. I didn't even know there was a program. I didn't even know I was a drug addict. I didn't even know I had a drug problem. I just had a bad relationship, and my mom saved me from that relationship, brought me back home. I went back to school, and in 3 years, I graduated top of my class, third in my class, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude, and then I went to law school. And after law school, I was really pissed off with the country, and it was Ronald Reagan was president, and I was just like, I'm out of here. This is he's just an actor. He talks about, I was a leftist. He talks about freedom. I was like one of those chop people. That would have been me. I just thought he was very being a hypocrite talking about freedom. And I didn't feel like we had any freedom. So I was like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? So I left the country. I just went full 100%, out of reality. Lived in Holland and Paris and, thought socialism was great. Came back to America, and then life really began. And I found myself very, immediately I found myself in a meeting. I did not go to a meeting. I didn't know what a meeting was. I was in a Coco's one night. I was in Southern California, and I had lost everything. I'd lost my future. I had no friends. I had never lived in that area. My parents moved to Newport Beach from San Diego, and I was lost. I didn't have a car. I didn't have money. I didn't have clothes. I just came home from Europe pretty destitute. I had become an alcoholic in Europe only after 2 years. So for me, it took what it takes most people 45 years to get to. It just took me a couple years. So it was fast and furious. That's like me, like just really hard and fast. And when I got into the program, that's when my recovery began, and I started learning. And so my stance on drugs, that's my story. I've been clean, but it's more than that. And I love what, Apex was talking about, and Alex. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, pot is legal. I'm not even going to discuss pot. Pot is already becoming a big part of the economy, and whether it can be abused or not, of course it can be abused, but it's taken the same, pretty much the same position as alcohol. So it's a a necessary evil, I guess. And I also agree with that. Was a great point. If we're going to have it, let's make it, let's grow it in America. Everything should be American made. Now, the problem I have with LSD is I've been clean for a long time. I go into the prisons. So I talk prisons and jails, and I talk to these girls. And last night I saw the movie Cracked Up, and it's about that guy from Saturday Night Live. He's amazing. And he had such intense abuse as a child and trauma. And that's what really leads to the drug addiction and the alcohol. And even most people in recovery don't even realize where the pain is coming from. And I think that's more of the conversation that I want to have. And whoever said it was like, this is a mental health issue more than it is a drug issue. And I'm going to say just one more thing and then I'll shut up. But the whole LSD thing, I've never in 33 years ever met anybody, and I've met hundreds of thousands of people in different stages of recovery. I've never met anyone that has gotten any relief or any type of recovery from psychedelics. I don't know if I would want to make psychedelics illegal, but what really freaks me out about psychedelics is the ability to be abused by like the CIA, you know, the whole MK Ultra mind control.
Yes.
That really
Hey,
freaks me
Firecracker,
out.
can you tell us what kind of drugs those are? Because people like me don't know what that is. Which ones are psychedelics?
Okay, so psychedelic is LSD, lysodysergic acid, or something like that. And I just saw online it really stands for Lucifer, Satan, Devil, LSD. And it really takes you to a very dark place for about a day and a half. You have absolutely no control over any of your thoughts or visions or smells. And it takes you to a different place. And it can be quite scary. Many people commit suicide on LSD.
That sounds
Firecracker,
very scary.
Firecracker, I have to give your first chalk on the someone you've met in your, you know, thousands of people that has been changed positively by psychedelics and LSD in particular, and psilocybin mushrooms, because I wouldn't be alive without either of those things. Yes, they are dangerous and they can be abused, and you can have a very bad time if you're dishonest with yourself, if you're around the wrong people, if you're taken advantage of while you do it. That all those things can happen in almost any stage of any part of your life. What psychedelics do, from my perspective, is they take away your ego. They remove you from yourself in a way that you're incapable of doing in a lot of ways, especially when you're deep into addiction or depression, or you can't step outside of yourself to see what's wrong with you, to help yourself. They have been a tool for me. I haven't done any psychedelics in years. I haven't felt the need to. They were literally a stepping stone for me out of the deepest, darkest places I've ever been. And I would never wish on anybody else. So I know from experience the positive that they can have. And I also know from experience the negative that they can have. They can be abused, but so can driving your car. We've seen that in crowded places over the last few years, right? So let's ban driving too while we're at it. I mean, my whole take on this thing is nothing should be illegal. As far as your body, whatever you do to yourself shouldn't be illegal. But the education around all of it should be, I mean, I can't even like think of a number, exponentially higher. Like it should be realer. It should be, less, complicated to come by. Doctors shouldn't be strong-armed into not being, I mean, Dr. Rick Strassman, who wrote the book DMT, the spirit molecule, the first doctor like ever to do experiments on humans with DMT, which is actually, that's like the hardest psychedelic, but guess what? It's made in your brain. And it's actually easier to name more living things, or name the living things on the planet that don't produce it than the things that do. It is as natural as most things. But he worked for 15 through legislation just to be able to do these tests. And the things that he came up with were horrifying and enlightening and ultimately confusing, but it helped a lot of people through the process. And there's a lot of positive literature. It's not all negative. Of course there's negative, but I'm also against the victim narrative. I don't like blaming things outside of your own self for your situation and the things that happen to you. And I think psychedelics are a perfect example. When you have a bad trip, it's not the drugs, it's you. You refuse to let go, or you refuse to explore. That's what life is about.
Yeah. I mean, it's a complex thing. It's a complex thing because, like, I mean, it can help people, it can hurt people. I guess it depends ultimately on the individual's, you know, individual's chemistry.
Yep.
By the way, congratulations on your 30+ years recovery, Firecracker.
Yes,
Appreciate
congratulations,
that.
Firecracker. That was great.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
excellent.
Yeah, good on
Thank you for that story.
Yeah. And yeah, I've worked in mental health and substance abuse centers for a little bit now. I mean, it's a complex conversation, and it's one of those complex conversations that change by the decade. Like, because we've like the more we live, the more we find out. The more research that happens, the more we find out.
Yeah.
The more, you know, experiments that happen, the more we find out. The more, like, what we know now, like, the conversations that we're having now are a luxury compared to the conversations that we were having 30 years ago, just because of the information that we have, just because of the amount of research that we're able to do on, you know, certain drugs, and, you know, the chemical makeup, and the, you know, the reactions that they have on the brain. Like, we can give people's everything now. Like,
we're still doing that with alcohol, though. You know, I mean, that's another point I wanted to make, actually, with the whole like legalization thing.
Well, hold on, this is complicated. Let's not get to alcohol too. That really makes
Wait, no. Well, I was
mean,
just using that as an example. But
yeah,
for me anyway, when I turned 21, drinking became a lot less fun. And the whole, like, especially as a youth, of doing things that you're not supposed to, you know, especially things that are illegal that you can get away with. You know, drinking is a popular one, especially among American teenagers. But drugs, especially, you know, I found it more, like, I found myself more interested in doing drugs in my vulnerable times as a youth, by their stigma. You know, it's illegal. It's, you know, I heard the same kind of stories that Firecracker was just telling from my mother, except she told the same story about, you know, watching her friend's face melt about weed, and then about LSD, you know, years down. She didn't realize she told me the same story. She was just trying. So, okay, you're full of shit. So I'm going to go figure this out for myself, which is going to happen most times anyway. You know, Dexter's never done any drugs, and that's fucking amazing. I applaud people for that. And, you know, I can't change what I am and what I have been up to this point. But I just think, again, with the idea of America in my head that I have, you shouldn't be told what you can and can't do with yourself, but you should be educated to the highest degree that is humanly possible on the things available to you, the things around you, be it the trees and plants, or the drugs, or, you know, the psychedelics, or the uppers or the downers, or whatever. But
I mean, if you really want to have a can of worms discussion, it's like, well, who's giving out this education? Is it going to be somebody that's been through all this mess, or is it some fucking tenured teacher that doesn't give a shit about anything? Like,
that is the issue for sure. I mean, I guess that's the part I'm trying to piece together with words, is like the proper education, like just unfiltered for people to have, without all the, you know, different people telling them. I mean, I don't know. It's almost like the ideal form of the internet without any form of censorship. Same kind of idea with research.
I mean, if you're talking about education, our education system's in the fucking shitter. If you're trying to get people to teach, on, you know, drugs and the whole, you know, the ups and the downs and the positives and negatives, whatever, it's like, well, shit, you got a lot.
You can't even teach history correctly, so drugs.
You know what?
They don't even teach history very good. So.
I actually have an answer, and it's your parents. That's who should be teaching you these things.
Yeah, but
because they should be old enough to know.
But when single parenthood is at an all-time high, it's like, well, you ain't getting
right.
Shit
Well,
you're not getting shit from your parents.
I apologize. I'm speaking about this ideal world, this fantasy world that I'm that I'm
Fair.
speaking of.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hold on, I'd like to go and chime in a bit too. So there was a comment earlier that LSD stands for like Lucifer, Satan, Devil, or something. Is that correct in my interpretation of that?
I just saw that. I just saw that on in my research the past week. I thought it was very interesting. That it's just a very it's just my opinion. I did want to say to Alex that or was it Apex? I really appreciate what you shared. I really super appreciate that you shared your experience and that it was a stepping stone. And I believe that psychedelics are legal. Mushrooms are legal. Like, aren't certain what's it called, hayakatha, or whatever it's called?
No, those are federally illegal.
Yeah, no, they're not legal.
One of my friends grew them, and he had like a lab where he grew them. Yeah, they're not legal.
The only one that's legal in certain states is salvia, but that's pretty. That's only a handful of states left. But
yeah, ayahuasca, people travel to South America to have that experience. And there are shaman that come up here, but it's definitely not legal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not particularly against. I know Alex wanted to say something. I'm not particularly against hallucinogenics being illegal or legal, because I don't think that there's as big an addiction problem with that. I don't know, from your experience, Apex. I don't know.
Definitely not. Not from my experience, because like I said, it's been 10 years, maybe 15 years. I did them for a short time, semi-regularly, as a form of therapy, because I don't trust other people. I probably should have just gone to therapy, but I've done most of it myself with the help of these mystical teachers.
So
and I'm not perfect.
No, that's amazing. Hey, it worked. So that's your story, and it's beneficial to people. But the reason why I brought up the movie last night, Phil Harmon, not Phil Harmon, shit. Anyway, one of these guys, but he's the guy.
You said Daryl. It was Daryl Hammond, right?
Yeah, Daryl Hammond.
Yeah. No, I saw it too. I think it was on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it was amazing, because
that was a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one.
He was always. Now, this is basically what I see from all my experience. I'm pretty much an expert in it. And also, since I go into the prisons, and I've been on the front lines for all these years, helping girls, in the trenches. My story was pretty easy. I was kind of blessed. Like, God did a good job on me, and gave it to me pretty easy, but not as a child. I have some horrendous, hellacious abuse. And it's taken all these years for me to come out of denial. And like, I appreciate what you said, that, you don't go for the victim thing, but with that movie Cracked Up. So if somebody rapes me, or if somebody molests me as a 6-month-old child, I do not need to own that. I don't need to take responsibility for that. There's nothing that I did to cause that. But that traumatizes me for the rest of my life. It's almost a scar that doesn't ever get healed. And what it goes back to, it does go to the childhood. Whether you had an intermediate bad childhood, or you just got spanked a couple times, everybody interacts differently with abuse, and abuse is different levels. And I think that most people, I only can talk about the people that come to AA or NA, because that's who I deal with. But by the time they get there, they're usually there, or they've usually become addicted, because they're at some time in their life, and this is like the education of what addiction is. They're in so much pain that they need something to take them out of the pain, because it's the pain of pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down. So the abuse isn't really what gets you, but the hiding it and the denying it and the pushing it down and trying to keep it underneath, keep a lid on it. That's what creates the addiction. And he even cut himself.
I actually, I was horrified when you started talking there, because I'm like, no, I was not talking about. actual victims of actual like horrible things, not, you know, playing or feeling like victims. Like that's not what I mean. But you kind of rounded it off there, because I agree with you that that is what started it for me. It's hiding pain. It's a refusal to accept the world, or to look at the world in with sober eyes and deal with it and work on real problems, etc., etc. It's a mask, and trauma comes in all forms. But what I meant by not feeling the victim is ultimately that's what I'm not a victim of any such horrible thing as you just described. But I certainly didn't have the ideal childhood. And I feel what mostly has held me back up to this point, or up to several years back, we'll say 10 years back, was feeling sorry for myself and ultimately using the drugs as an excuse to feel sorry for myself and not take life seriously because, you know, I'm stoned all the time or whatever, you know?
Right,
So
the feeling sorry for yourself, that's just a symptom of the pain that you're feeling sorry about. Now, I wasn't
sure.
hurt when I was a 6-month-old. So yeah, I mean, if you get really down to it, the freedom, and I really recommend that movie. It was the coolest movie, cracked up. And it was funny, it was cute, it was deep, it was lovely, it was a good movie. Everybody told him, the doctors. And then this also goes into the next conversation of big pharma and how the doctors are creating drug addicts and how the doctors want to medicate drug addiction. They want to medicate. The treatment centers suck. Like they want to trade off your one medication for 5 different pharmaceuticals that you practically can't even afford, and it medicates a dysfunction that cannot be fixed by medication.
I have disclosed this on the Whitfield report, which, Sam, thanks for joining us, buddy. That's actually where it all started for me. I didn't do any drugs until they were given to me by doctors.
Yeah, that's
So,
a
see,
whole
that
nother
pisses me
area.
off.
Is the whole like specifically with opioids is the legal drug addiction that's crippling
That's
the
where it
nation.
started.
And they call it accidental overdose. There's no accident. The doctor has become the pusher because of the entire infrastructure of the system of that. You can't pay somebody's insurance to see the doctor unless they have a medical necessity. And the only way that they could prove medical necessity is if they give you a medication. That's how they prove you're sick. And that's how insurance will pay. So it's an endless spiral to get somebody addicted. And then the doctors make so much money off that prescription pad. That's what
Yep.
angers me more than street drugs.
You know what's going to help,
Yep.
though? You know what's going to help with that whole situation?
Decriminalization.
No. Even better. I got an even better solution. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Celebrities giving a black and white presentation on Twitter, a PSA on Twitter. That'll solve literally everything.
That will stop it overnight.
Everything. I mean, you see them left and right. Look, hey, you see these actors. They're taking responsibility. It's amazing stuff.
And who was the mother of that? Nancy Reagan. Just say no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's my thing with the drug issue too, especially with psychedelics and stuff. Is there's so much misinformation out there. It's really hard to find the true information about this, because I know too earlier you said that it could last 2 days with an LSD trip, because that's, unless you're taking some sort of insanely high dose, it shouldn't
That was
last.
my experience.
Okay, that it shouldn't last more than 8 hours, because I have a friend who's taken LSD multiple times, and it does not last usually longer than 8 hours or so.
Yeah. Now I will speak to the fact that the effect, psychologically and emotionally, can last up to a week. They've affected me really positively in a real way for several days afterwards. But the actual effects of it, the drug itself, 8 hours, maybe 10. if I've taken a bunch, or I took a bunch rather.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that too. Like, you know, the actual seeing stuff, the physical weakness, the, you know, mind fuck that you go through, that will only last maybe, you know, like 8 hours, 10 hours. And even that comes in waves too. So that to say it'll last for multiple days, you know, like sure, the realizations that you have, you know, that can last for the rest of your life. But, you know, that's more of like meditation.
Yeah.
If you meditate, you can, you know, you kind of learn about yourself. You have these questions, these sort of philosophical internal dialogues going on. And that's sort of the good thing. You know, you're dealing with problems that you might, it's kind of like meditation, you know, but instead of that sort of discipline, because not everyone has that discipline or they might not have like the time to go and like dedicate to like meditating every day. And they might have this breakthrough after a few months. Because I used to meditate too. And, you know, I never really got to that high of a level that my good friend describes.
Psychedelics, they're not. Oh, sorry. Psychedelics, they're not addictive. There's no tolerance. So it's not physically or mentally addictive.
No, in fact, it's not. It becomes much less fun the more you do it. Like like they don't work. You don't. It's not fun. You know, it's like they're actually, most of them are like the perfect drug in that sense for me. Again, it's been years since I've even considered it, but now I'm fondly reminiscing. I'm just kidding, but no, like you know, back when I first started, the first psychedelic I ever did was mushrooms, and I took a relatively low amount or small amount, and I was with good friends. And I didn't know where they came from, so whatever. But they're mushrooms. It's not hard to tell that it's a mushroom that you're eating, albeit dry and disgusting. But that first time actually was really scary. It wasn't what I would call a bad trip, but it was the first time that I was like, oh, okay. There's like things going on up here that I need to figure out. And that summer, I took mushrooms, about the same amount, almost every week. And a couple of times I tried days in a row, and that's when I found out that I don't like taking psychedelics that much, because it defeated the purpose for me. And, you know, the profoundness of my, you know, introspection, which is what it's all about in my perspective. It's all about inward. It's, you know, yeah, cool shit happens outside of you if you look around at the walls, whatever, but close your eyes. That's where the things happen. And for me anyway.
I had a lovely, also very similar. My first experience on mushrooms, my first and only, was lovely. I was with somebody that I loved and I trusted, and we went on a trip to Mexico, and it was just amazing. So I've had two experiences, one with acid and one with mushrooms, but this conversation really isn't like this serious addiction. This isn't about that.
No, and that was the point that I was trying to make, is I don't think that drugs should be illegal. I think that people should work harder at teaching people younger better values, period.
So
that's my dream world.
So I have a question. This is a really serious question for me, because this is kind of like the context for you other guys too. This is the context of reality, and the reality is what the CIA and what through the years what the government has done to the inner cities because of their agenda of flooding the inner cities with cocaine, or flooding the inner cities with crack, or flooding the inner cities with heroin, and destroying generations. That's a huge problem that I have.
Well, I think everybody on the panel would agree that's a problem, but I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I don't think, like, what the government did with the what was that, the Iran-Contra thing, where they're smuggling cocaine to the cities to go and basically fund clandestine operations. Like, yeah, that was wrong. I don't think very many people will say, oh, that was a great government policy, thank you, Reagan. No, but I don't. Now, to a certain extent, you know, there is individual responsibility. No one, for the most part, no one's putting a gun up to your head and saying, hey, smoke this pipe. some people maybe that happens, but there is a certain element of personal responsibility in it. However, in that instance, that was wrong. We shouldn't be having an agenda to go and like flood the cities with any drugs, which is why what China's doing with the synthetic opiates, fentanyl, carfentanil, that is wrong. That is an act of almost like a sort of war, like because we did that too to China. I think this is revenge for the opium wars.
But it's the same thing. Yeah, it's happening right now. It's the same thing, and everything's laced with fentanyl. And fentanyl is a killer. It's worse than weed killer.
Listen, fentanyl killed my little brother less than a year ago. So no, it's fine. He was actually under. He was in jail. He was in work release, and he died of fucking fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
Fentanyl.
It's taken a lot. It's taken a lot of people. It's fucking took Prince.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And when you say nobody forces you to do this, that's absolutely not true, because usually most people start drugs between 13 and 15, and it was usually given to somebody by someone they trust, an older sibling, a parent, an uncle, somebody that was going to molest them. I mean, usually, yes,
doctor.
they almost were forced.
Doctor. Yeah, especially a doctor. Like if you're going to start, like if you're getting a surgery or something like that, they're going to. You got these asshole doctors feeding you these pills, like, here, you don't want to get in pain. Here, take this shit. And before
they got me
hooked.
Now, I've been hit by a car recently. I had the option if I wanted to go and take opiates. I refused that.
Good.
But if you're young, you're gonna do what the doctor tells you to do more.
Even like
you're kind of smart. Smart. Like you're kind of smart. Okay, and by kind of I mean really fucking smart. But like, but I'm saying
there.
Yeah, I had to throw that joke in there. But no, like the 13-year-old's not gonna fucking differentiate.
Well, what about,
he's gonna be like, he's gonna look at the doctor and be like, well, what do you think I should do? And of course that fucking crooked ass doctor's gonna be like, hey, take these fucking pills.
Well,
you know what happens? And then they have, and then they get addicted, and they come out, and they no longer have their prescription, and so they got to find heroin on the street. And this is exactly how the 60,000 people that died last year from opiates. This is why they did it. Usually because of a doctor or because of their older brother got them started, and then they've got some fentanyl in there, and it's over.
We don't punish people anywhere close to we don't punish those fuckers anywhere close to hard. Like that's the ultimately that's the problem. Like you have these people that are doing all this shit and they get these really light fucking sentences. And it's like you had that one chick that was running a fucking pill mill in Louisiana, and she didn't even, all she did was lose her license or whatever. Like they didn't fucking, it was a glory, or maybe a couple of years in prison, I think, but like nothing. It was like fucking nothing. No, if Dictator Phil was in charge, these fuckers would be executed.
A lot of people are making money from the whole chain of command.
And I agree with that. With the doctors, they need to be held accountable for that. Was with the crack epidemic? I imagine most people, that sure there was some people who were like forced into it as a kid, but that's not everyone either. Like I know a lot of people in college got cocaine addictions, like fully on their own free will.
Yeah. What you guys, what nobody mentioned, and what I wanted to touch on, and again, this is from my, just from my perspective and my story. Is when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you don't really have much of a, well, maybe not 16, 17, but when you're younger and the doctor, he's not talking to you. He's talking to your parent, your mother or your father, who are also uneducated. This goes back to what I was saying, that people are uneducated. They're not educated on the right things. And that is I believe, mostly an act of subversion on various levels that I can't define, specifically, but I see it all the time. The older I get, but yeah. So you hook a kid early. Actually, better yet, you convince their parent that you in your lab coat has got all the answers, and you feed them Adderall and fucking opiates
Yeah.
and
At five,
you know,
at 5
Ritalin.
years old,
Well,
and you create an addict, correct?
Hold up, because Apex made a really good point about that. So a few things. First off, I have to disclaim that we are multi-streaming on the Whitfield Reports YouTube.
Oh shit! What's up? What's up, Whitfield Report gang?
Number
What's up,
two,
Hammers?
number two, I have to disclaim that I'm also. It's amusing that we're talking about drugs because I'm in the midst of drinking a beer, a Corona. Well,
Oh, that's not beer.
We already-
Oh, whatever. That's a
You
Corona.
got
That's
you
not
got
beer.
Corona?
That's not
We already
beer.
agreed. We
Yeah.
already agreed that beer wasn't in the drug discussion anyway,
That's
Sammy.
like
So
a-
you're fine.
That's like Kool-Aid.
but
You need to.
Have you
need
seen
to
how
up it
much
up.
they've been advertising during this fucking pandemic? That is one of the most
Oh,
like
God.
slick but awful advertisements ever.
I love it. I'm in branding and advertising, and I think it's brilliant.
I'm an ad major, so
also, it's interesting that you guys bring up the Ritalin thing because I have a very interesting story. When I was 5 years old, and going into kindergarten,
Aw.
my mom went in to meet with I guess like a few of the prospective kindergarten teachers and some of the school administrators because with me being in a wheelchair, I needed some assistance, and so they, basically, I had what's called an IEP, like an individualized education plan. And long story short, the school psychologist at the time, this was like back in 1999 or 2000, can't remember which, but the school psychologist back then wanted to put me on Ritalin, and without meeting me face to face, without doing any like tests on me, based on the fact that according to like the preschool teachers or whatever, I guess I wasn't paying attention in like math or whatever back then. So they wanted to put me on Ritalin, and my mother's reaction was basically she said, if you even suggest that my son get put on Ritalin again, if you even mention it, I will sue this school district's ass into the ground.
I love your mother.
You are not.
Yeah.
You are not putting my son on any drug.
Yeah, your success story, man. Fuck yeah.
So,
I mean, she did fuck up. She did fuck up with having you drink Corona. I mean, that's terrible. Like, who does that?
Well,
Jesus.
Well,
He is beyond
You're
her
not gonna let
control
him go
now.
on that one, are you?
Oh,
Oh
you
my
know what,
god!
my
I mean,
mom-
Corona. Ugh.
My
man
mom
has-
told me. My
What, were
mom
you
told
all
me.
out of Kool-Aid or something? What the hell?
My
I-
mom
I,
told me only truck drivers drink beer.
Damn.
Wow.
I,
Mother drive.
Shit, I'm drinking a fucking ice house right now, guys. Ice house.
I
For real?
also have Budweiser, but unfortunately, it's not in the fridge right now. So,
Budweiser's not that great either. I like that Yangling.
yeah, no,
You know what? You know what I heard that Corona is?
What?
It's recycled homeless piss. That's what it is.
Oh, so they got from
You know-
Seattle.
I thought that was Bud Light.
Probably.
They used to call that Schlitz when I was a kid.
The-
Schlitz.
The rumor when I was growing up was 1 in 4 Coronas tested positive for urine. So hey guys, on a total topic change, kind of back to before Firecracker joined. I just checked my comments on these couple of clips that I uploaded to my Owen Benjamin clip channel,
Oh, nice.
and it appears the Owen haters also really hate our president.
Of course.
I've never
I-
seen such spicy
I-
comments in my videos before,
What's
I-
all that?
even from the Bears.
I fucking predicted that. I've been telling people for months for years that Owen and his cult aren't actual conservatives.
No. Oh, Sam, you miss. you misunderstand me, Sam. I'm saying that my fans, the viewers of my channel, like the regular commenters, aside from a couple, are like fucking blah, 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 like all caps posting comments. It's like, whoa, it's
Well,
actually kind of weird to
Are
see.
they the type that don't think Trump that think Trump doesn't go hard enough?
Oh,
yeah,
no, they
probably.
think he's you know, like the hard left stance on, you know, that he's just straight evil and he's inciting violence and he should. I mean, I
Wow.
can't quote any of them. I
Horseshoe
can't quote any of them
theory.
off the top of my head.
Hey,
Let's see.
so you have liberals who sub to your channel who love the fact that you bash on
Hey,
Owen
hey,
Benjamin.
listen, Sam. I'm not gonna call this person out, but the first two initials, the initials are A and R, and they're subscribed to both of us. This is their comments. Trump may say some pretty words, but he appears powerless. This is not really about racism. It is an excuse to perpetuate the blame game, loot, use violence, feel aggravated and entitled, and engage in hooliganism, hate. Oh, actually, that's a good one. Never mind.
So
Oh,
does that
shit.
mean that
Man.
they're voting for Biden?
I don't know what they're voting for, but it's just weird to see because my YouTube channel, I don't like, guys, I'm not like an internet guy. Like I've lurked around for years and watched random shit, but I started making videos about Owen Benjamin because I wanted to make fun of him for some reason. And I've made a bunch of really shitty ones and I've amassed like, you know, almost 1,000 people that I actually talked to and have had conversations with. That's how I met Sam. That's how I met, you know, ultimately you guys. But it's just a weird dynamic because my channel's always been about one thing. And I knew if I ever uploaded anything else, be it like my music or, you know, anything else I wanted to clip, that it would cause some kind of rift. But
I just went hard on my stream before I joined you guys like 10 minutes ago or whenever. I played a clip of Andrew Breitbart's CPAC speech because I think it's still relevant as all get out, even for you know, today's. But I've kind of beefing with the quote unquote America First crowd this week because they don't think Trump's going hard enough. And also, one of their leaders thought it would be funny to tweet out that Black Lives Matter should burn down a Chick-fil-A. So that's where we're at within, like, you know, within the right wing kind of fighting each other.
Yeah, and I'm getting personally like really annoyed with it. Like that there's this constant infighting between now. I mean, it used to be really just between the Trump MAGA populist crowd and the establishment. But now it's a fight between the establishment, the moderate MAGA crowd, and then the hardline America First crowd. And
I think Nick Fuentes is a closeted homosexual and he needs to just come out of the closet.
Oh, absolutely.
He could be the next Milo, dude.
Could
I think he
Maybe even
likes
better.
Milo.
Well,
it'd be
Did
nice.
you see his show
Well,
with Milo? It was
I did.
great.
Yeah.
well, considering that the Gripers fucking attacked you know, Sean and Alex for just being associated with Turning Point, which is kind of how I got involved with Versamedia in the first place.
wait, what did they say about Alex?
Well, no, it was basically just you, and they didn't mention Alex specifically, but they were like, you know, Turning Point PSU is like a bunch of homosexuals. So, and then on one of the interviews that you and I did, just the two of us, Sean, one of the Gripers, I should have actually probably saved the comment, but I deleted it because of YouTube's like comment policy or whatever.
Yeah, we've been doing a few tonight.
One of the Gripers said that you and I should both be thrown into an oven. And
It's a bit cold
so
in here, so maybe I
That
will.
sounds like something Owen Benjamin would say.
and so, you know, when Nick and his ilk are actually, I'm now Nick didn't say that, but his fans said that. And when Nick is the type of edgelord to say that, I mean, basically, I'm only like a few years older than a kid, but I feel like he needs a spanking from someone.
He
So
probably what you talk. Nick would probably enjoy the spanking because he is a closeted homosexual. So.
I knew you were gonna say
Guys.
that. What were you trying to say, Alex? I heard your thing was going out again.
Yeah, I was asking if someone's baking a pie because I keep talking about ovens over here.
Yeah, he
I am-
probably makes pies too.
So I got a little clip of Trump saying "kung flu"
What did he
from
say?
the rally earlier.
Yes. He
Oh
did
my
say
God,
kung
he
flu.
fucking said "kung flu,"
Yes.
and it's awesome. I don't know where to post
Did you
it.
guys see
but-
him throw that? He really.
Hey, with the water.
Oh my God! I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So Trump with the water, the glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all
Yeah.
see the post? Benny Johnson just made a post. And it says "liberal tears"
Mm-hmm.
as he hold the water.
Meme material. That's
Dude,
what he turns out every rally.
Dude, that's exactly what he was doing. I mean, you can't give him. I can't give him enough credit.
you know what right now on my live stream, because on my live stream people can see my camera. Speaking of memes, right now I know that Alan Powell is lurking in my chat and probably just like screen capping my screen of me drinking Corona to make memes.
I can see you. I can say hi. I can see you.
So
Well, one thing, when you mentioned the Groypers and all these people, I felt like the one thing that happens, like when Nick says these like edgy tweets, and when people say these things in our comments, we always talk about it because it's hard to not look away. Like, let's be honest. But the double-edged sword to that is you give these people attention, and that's how they rise up. And I'm not saying like we shouldn't talk about, but what I'm saying is, it's kind of like with Richard Spencer. He wouldn't be given. And I'm not trying to lump him in the same camp for anybody who says that, and they are different people. But the reason even Richard Spencer, we know who his name is because people wouldn't stop talking about him. And there's certain sort of, things that you just can't not talk about, but people deliberately like find stuff and like deliberately talk about him. And Nick is, I have complicated feelings on the guy because I don't know what he really believes. I've heard what people have said he really believes, and that's what concerns me. And the people he hangs out with concern me too. But he seems like somebody that does understand what he's doing. He's a talented and effective individual, but he needs some really, like, he goes too far with certain things that it can come off as not like when Milo goes like edgy and hard and provocative, that's what it is. But when Nick does, he goes too far, and it's kind of rude and like jerky.
When Milo does it, it's obvious it's satire, and it's
Trolling.
I mean it's obvious. When Nick does it, it's kind of like
serious and weird.
It's kind of like, is he joking or is he? So here's why I focus so much on like Nick Fuentes and also the Owen Benjamin types, because I feel like every time I ignore them, right, I always get some normie, just some.
They'll be like, why aren't you talking about X, Y, and Z?
Well, no, I always get some sort of like, oh, so Nick Fuentes is Nick. They think that because like Nick Fuentes said, X, Y, or Z, that like all of conservatism now, thinks X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like,
He's got.
I'm like, okay, let me explain. So it becomes like a whole thing. So I end up having to explain it either way to people. And so I'm like, I might as well just address on the show and reinforce to people publicly that I don't, I think we do have some nut jobs on our own side. So,
Well, I mean, Nick Fuentes, he just looks like a guy that's like sexually repressed. Like just Just let a chick touch your penis or something. Like, and then if you're not into chicks, hey, let a dude touch your penis. I don't know.
Dude, as Gavin McGinnis said at the CPAC after party, he said, you know, we have all these groypers here, and, you know, you guys, look, you're young. Stop worrying about Israeli, like, foreign policy and start worrying about getting laid.
Yeah, I know, right? That freaking, you know, the interaction of women touching your private parts, that is fantastic. I mean, that is just something else, you know? And you know, when you don't have that, I don't know what's worth. I don't know, you know. And
I think
it's
you need
Nick is kind of weird. He's got that weird.
That's well said, Phil.
Yeah, like that. He's got that weird vibe of like, yeah, nobody's touched my ding dong ever, you know. And so you know, get, you know, feel better.
Here's my sort of thoughts on that. Like, as much as those people do suck, you know, they aren't the ones in power that we should be worrying about right now. You don't see like, you know, whatever, like the alt-right forming like city blocks, like CHOPS and shit. The most they'll do is like go and fucking bring tiki torches to a fucking protest. You know, like these people aren't the ones in power. And honestly, like the more you bring them up, the more drama you just start between them. So it just kind of feels, at least to me, like it's not even worth it. Like, you know, if they do something notable, you know, maybe bring something up then, but if they're just being themselves, like I don't really give a shit. You know, the people.
It's kind of like a deep state Hollywood, kind of.
Yeah, the people that matter are the actual communists who are in charge of the establishment, who are in charge of the, you know, who are in charge of colleges. Those people matter because they have direct institutional power over people and they implement their message. If the alt-right were in charge of college admissions or like Fortune 500 companies, then that would be a different discussion. And then, you know, we could bring them up more. But, you know, we're focusing on the wrong enemies here, I feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, you know, we can focus on maybe not just the wrong enemies, but like all of the enemies. But maybe that's just the Italian in me. I want to deal with all of our enemies. Into the people in my chat. No, I'm not going to chug them. So
to address
did you just say you're Italian? Did you say you're Italian, Sam?
I'm half. I'm half.
Oh, you're half Italian. All right,
yeah,
all right.
So
what did you think? So what did you think, Sam? What did you think about the Christopher Columbus statues getting torn down? Because I heard Christopher Columbus is your guy. What's the deal?
Okay, so in relation to all of that stuff, I have to be completely honest and tell you guys that I was a bit depressed this week, especially on Thursday. If any of you guys heard my Thursday Whitfield report, I was depressed because I mean, Black Lives Matter and Antifa are just running around tearing down statues, and cops are like. I mean, the cops have literally gone on strike and they're not out there. And I don't know. It's kind of been building in me for a while, but on Thursday, it just kind of like, you know, like I wasn't even mad enough to scream. I was just kind of like, oh, you know, I was honestly in a depressed state because I feel like, you know, America's burning down and almost no one is doing nothing about it. So yeah, the Christopher Columbus thing pissed me off. I'll tell you what pissed me off even more was the George Washington statue.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy who's my guy. It's not Christopher Columbus. George Washington is my guy. And
yeah, I like how Trump, he mentioned that and how they tore it down and wrapped an American flag around it and set it on fire. And he wants to... I mean, he was talking to the senators there, the Oklahoma senators or whatever, and he's like, he wants to institute or, you know, build some legislation that, you know, enacts jail time for 1 year if you burn the American flag. You can stop it, do whatever, but if you burn it, like you desecrate, like free speech is important. I forget exactly what he said. I clipped that too. I should probably upload that.
I don't think he should do that at all. That to me is a
Uh,
big problem. That is
Yeah.
very anti-First Amendment, which would really hurt his pro-free speech brand. Because I hate anybody that burns the American flag is, in my opinion, a traitor. But you should be allowed to burn the American flag because it is an expression of speech and it is not harming anyone.
I agree, but it
I
was
don't
just
agree.
his. Good.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, my thing with that is you're going to turn a whole lot of libertarians against the Republican Party. I mean, the ones that are still in there. There was a decent amount of libertarians in the Republican Party. You do that. One, it's going to get shot down by the Supreme Court. It's been done.
Right.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's the whole point, though. Is he
I
was
think-
like he was just saying it's disgusting. Like 1 year in prison is what he
Yeah.
thinks it's worth.
I
you know,
see.
to-
I
to
see.
desecrate-
I think though,
yeah.
Yeah, I
like
see what he's saying.
I'm
now.
all for, you know, hey, if you want to burn a flag, go for it. But I will say this: if you are if you're a government employee and you burn a flag, you get fired and there's no rehiring. If you're in the military and you burn a flag, you're out. Same thing. You're
I'm
out.
curious.
You're not getting
actually,
back. You're not getting back in.
when you bring that up, have there been cases of military, like people currently enlisted in the military, burning the flag, and have there been consequences against them?
There have been actually.
Hmm.
There was one. Well, I know there's one. There was like the army wife that wiped her ass with the American flag and posted it on social media.
My question is, how can you
And
army wife if she's not employed by the U.S. military?
well, I think because they were living on post housing. I think they threw her off the base. Like they were like, nope, you gotta live off base now.
That's appropriate. I agree with that. Like if you're in the military, if you're in the government and you do that, yeah, you should absolutely be punished. It's like, how in the US you can say like whatever you want to say. You can say like stupid shit, you can say racist shit, you can say hateful shit, but you can still get fired from your job.
Yeah.
But saying something and burning something, it's almost like an act of violence against the
No.
Right.
country.
No.
I mean, the most
I mean,
or is like if they set the fire in an improper location, I think they can charge them with that. But if it's not that,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Supreme Court has ruled that, because they've had these cases brought to them, that flag burning is protected as long as you are doing it sort of, I don't want to say, well, I guess controlled is the right word. You're not like doing it like an open field that's super dry during wildfire season and you're burning a flag there. That's a big no-no because you're going to start fucking wildfire and kill people. And yeah, it's a whole big problem all in of itself. But if you're doing like in the street, you burn it. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Nobody's harmed. It's kind of like when you bring up like violence and like act of war and all these other things some people say, it's kind of like what's interesting is to see how they've ruled on things like you'll see people make speeches and they're going to say like, well, we're going to bomb the shit out of ISIS. We're going to kill ISIS. Some people say, well, wait a second. Isn't that an act of violence? And it's technically not because you're advocating for a policy. You're not necessarily saying, hey, you, sir, right there, go kill that person. But if you say, like, I shouldn't even say it on this because somebody could technically say it's violence. But if I said, hey, I'm going to kill X, or hey, you, go kill X, that's not protected. But if you advocate for, like, a certain, like, policy stance, it's like a blanket thing that's not aimed at a particular person, that is protected.
Well, that's kind of interesting because that you bring that up because, I mean, again, not to bring up Owen Benjamin, but that was actually where the trouble started with Owen for me, believe it or not, because he basically like falsely accused a friend of mine of trying to like poison his kids through some ridiculous, which was ridiculous to begin with. But then he also said, if anyone comes after my family, kill all of them or something. So he basically made a threat on the live stream and YouTube didn't do anything about it, and like the people who, he threatened, like they weren't able to bring a lawsuit or anything. So yeah, that's kind of interesting that we're talking about that because
Well, I think if you say, someone's going after my family, you can be inferred that then he means violently, and that would be, self-defense at that point, or defending people who are defenseless, which I feel is different. Like if you say, hey, if you come and like smack me with a stick, I'll smack you back with a stick. That's not really a call to action. That's just saying, hey,
It's like gay.
What it amounts
I'll
to in
slap
this
you
case.
with a stick, you bitch.
That
What
was
it
the
amounts
phrase I was
to-
looking for, was call to action.
In this case, though, is not only did he falsely accuse these people with no evidence, but he spelled their names out on a live stream that I was actually watching,
and doxed them.
Yeah, and inferred that he wanted people to do something about it. But don't do anything about it. But somebody should definitely do something about it. These people are dangerous, and violent rhetoric without crossing that line. I mean, I think he actually did, but it could be argued, I think, legally that he didn't, because he never said go kill those people, as Dexter, I think, was just saying. There's the legalese is. That's another thing. There's a lot of things wrong in this country, but it is mostly good, I think.
Yeah, I see you have to go, Donnie. So thank you for coming on.
Yep. Thanks again, as always.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys. Puppy duty.
Have a good night, Donnie.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, Donnie.
Nathan says Owen's out there past Pluto. Yeah, I think it's further than that.
Yeah.
He might have an actual mental illness, like, honestly.
No, he definitely does. And to be quite honest with you, like, I can hardly stomach it. I used to so enjoy making fun of him, but it just got to the,
You feel like you're beating up a mentally ill patient at some point.
All right, what the hell's wrong with you?
To be honest with you, though,
mentally ill people. What the hell?
Yeah, piece of shit here.
My little brother died, and it like everything everything became less fun, and including that, because it took. I made really shitty videos, just with a fucking screen recorder on my phone.
Apex, your shitty videos are artwork masterpieces.
They're part of the lore, that's for sure. I mean, I'll never escape that.
I mean,
luckily my channel's not tied to my real name yet.
I mean, I think Sean, is it you and I have talked about the movie Blade Runner, or was that another?
Yes, we have very extensively.
Well, okay. Well, people have said that Blade Runner was a shitty movie when it first came out, and yet Blade Runner is a masterpiece. So
yeah, maybe he's got the next Blade Runner.
So what I'm trying to say is, Apex is the Ridley Scott of YouTube troll clips. So.
Well, the funny thing too is, like, Owen Benjamin is actually, he's one of those people that's very fringe now, but. Talk about a guy where, yeah, he does have a mental illness, but I think the more interesting study on him, not only should you study his mental illness, but study how the censorship broke this man. Because he didn't go really downhill till the censorship hit. And I've noticed it with other people. People that I love have gone more extreme because of the censorship.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that that's true, but that's... I mean, the overall point you're making is true, but with Owen in particular, the spiral started with the incident that Sam was talking about.
Yeah.
And to a greater extent, the Owen's quote unquote best friend, who was stealing valor, and Owen refused to accept that when people tried to show him evidence, and he started banning people, and that started his spiral, which started the censorship. So, I mean, the censorship definitely played a part, but he has been drifting from fringe topic to fringe topic for well over a year now.
Oh yeah, I
Just
mean the
trying to-
seeds
The
were
drinking,
there.
the drinking too made it worse. The drinking just spiraled it faster. I watched him normal, and then one day he was like nuts.
Well, I that's the thing. My liberal friend that is subscribed to my YouTube channel likes to use Owen against me. He equates Owen to Donald Trump and like the conservative ideals. He thinks I'm in some kind of cult mindset, and I'm not even. Listen, I have so many pages of fucking text messages between him and I that are baffling to me. This is my oldest friend in the world, 22 years at least now. But shit, what was the point?
Most people don't even
That
know who
he
freaking Owen is.
He uses Owen against you.
Oh yeah, he uses Owen against me because he thinks that again that I'm in some kind of cult because all he's seen of Owen is what I've posted in clips, which is me making fun of him after he lost his shit. But when I found Owen, that dude wouldn't even say Jews.
Yeah.
Like on stream, he would be like he would play parody songs all day, just play piano, make shit up, look at the chat, talk to people, look at memes, and he would be playing a song about a conspiracy or something, and the line he was saying would so clearly rhyme with Jews, and he would stop, and like his brain would work for a second. He would say Saudi Arabia or something, like something other than, you know what I mean? And I was like,
That's
he's
schizophrenia.
a totally different
That's
person.
paranoid schizophrenia.
Kind of, yeah, it kind of looks that way. But he was the point is he was very normal. He seemed like I remembered seeing his stand-up many years prior on Comedy Central, at least one of them. And he looked kind of familiar as an actor. I wasn't sure from where. But
How funny.
yeah, right. But, you know, seeing him on YouTube, he seemed like a red-pilled fucking Hollywood dude. He was like, yeah, dude, I fucking cut trees down and with my brother, and I'm all about family, et cetera, et cetera. And he played piano for a couple hours. He wore his glasses and drank coffee. You know, eventually opened packages from his fans.
You know,
he opened a package of gummy dicks, and then it all started.
You know what was weird was like back in the day when he was normal and I first joined, you know, the thing with John Eric Hayden and all those guys. I remember like after Owen got kicked off of Twitter, like I was saying, hey Owen, you should talk to Milo Yiannopoulos because, you know, he's been censored by Twitter too, and I feel like, you know, you guys are both funny and you guys both have like a good sense of humor, and I think you guys would really hit it off. And Owen's response to me in the one DM that like where he and I interacted was Sam, I don't know. Milo is you know pretty controversial, and he's been associated with the alt-right before, and I'm just not sure if I want to, you know, associate with that level of controversy. And so like he was originally afraid of being lumped in with, you know, Milo because Milo was quote unquote too controversial. Then he goes from that to screaming about Jews in just a matter of months. That's to me that's what was so mind blowing. Was it wasn't like a progressive. It wasn't like an over time thing. To me, it was like
It was like
actually.
Yeah, it was
Go ahead,
overnight
Sam.
almost. It was overnight almost.
He did a Britney
Well-
Spears. It was a psychotic break.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and the timeline is very easy to follow. It's kind of convoluted and it's pretty long, but it's very easy to follow with channels like Milker Nation, especially on YouTube, who's done a pretty good job of, you know, doing what I do, but way better production and resources. But, you know, again, it started with the incident Sam's talked about, and then listen, he was groomed into the internet by Steven Crowder. That's where all of what he is now comes from, because he worked for Steven Crowder. He wrote bits for Steven Crowder. He was on his show, etc. And he called him his best friend for a long time.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think that's how I found Owen.
Yeah. And then one day Owen, actually, you know what? I found Owen through Dick Masterson way back in the day. Anyway, oh fuck. My brain's not working. I lost
You
my
were
point
saying
again.
how he came in. He came in through
Crowder.
he-
That's right,
I
Crowder.
thought
And
it
then
was
he.
Alex Jones.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
no. Steven Crowder was his the Christian part that he's still trying to play, because that the Christian thing, that's essential to his place on the internet and his making money. That's the one thing that he still holds from Steven Crowder, and he learned that from Steven Crowder. I mean, you can watch it happen through his timeline, but
But you can't be a Christian and talk shit on Jews all day long.
oh, sure you can. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I don't care. But
Well, one thing I'll pivot to actually this
well,
kind of
yeah, I would say I actually don't like talking about Owen anymore. But I mean, the overall point of him as a mental, health patient on the internet with influence is relevant. That's
Yeah.
the whole reason I started making videos about him.
no, it's a
it's
good
a-
thing to bring up.
It's astounding, honestly. That's all I was gonna say. Well, and the other thing too, to your point about Owen being a Christian, too, is he recently went off on the Holy Trinity too, and
Alex wanted to.
Yeah.
What did you wanted to pivot to something? I heard that though, Sam.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that what this kind of all these sort of like right wing media figures and e-celebs remind me of. I recently discovered, well, I should say technically rediscovered, because I didn't realize I'd seen him before. Was Lee Stranahan. This is somebody you've brought up, Sam. And I was gonna ask you about this, but I never realized I saw this guy because he was on Infowars on Band.video talking about Steve Bannon and how Bannon was really actually pushing for John Bolton to be in the White House, and how Bannon was actually anti-Trump secretly. I mean, there's some, and to give some background, Lee Stranahan used to work for Breitbart as one of their writers. I forget exactly his title, but I didn't realize I saw this guy at the National File event on day one of CPAC. I looked at him like, this guy looks familiar. Where did I see him before? And I figured out, I was like, oh shit, it was that guy. And I've seen quite a few things about him now, because he talks some stuff about Bannon. He said some not so nice things about Cernovich and Jack Posobiec, and also not so nice things about Milo, which I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this guy. I'll be honest.
Well, I have to be honest, Sean. I'm not that much of a Cernovich fan anymore, for various reasons, which I don't want to get into quite yet. But there's a documentary coming out on Cernovich very soon, which I think, will be pretty interesting.
Oh, who's making that documentary?
Well, one of my affiliates. So, here's what I will say about Cernovich. Cernovich, I do think he's done some good work, but he has danced around a lot of the allegations against him.
What allegations?
Sexual assault, supposedly that he settled, in a court with a sexual assault allegation, and I mean he also, in regards to Lee Stranahan, and this is kind of where I take issue, he basically claimed a lot of Lee's work as his own to promote the Gorilla Mindset brand back in the day. So, all I'm trying to say at Cernovich is, like, I'm kind of 50-50 on him at this point. So,
yeah, this Lee guy, I just don't know how I feel about him, because he does have some level of credibility working at Breitbart. He would know the shit that goes down in there, but
to be fair, he doesn't.
I don't know.
To be fair, he doesn't like Ben either.
Yeah, it's true. He was right about the Ben Shapiro thing completely. That Ben.
I don't like Ben. Ugh, that's a trigger. I don't like Ben.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so here's the thing about Ben Shapiro. I used to like Ben. I actually my claim to fame, at least prior to Owen, is I actually interviewed Ben Shapiro on my old show back when I was in high school in 2012. Um, and I interviewed Ben specifically about Andrew Breitbart, and basically, like, I asked Ben what Andrew Breitbart was like, because Breitbart had died earlier that year, and I knew that he and Ben were like, really close together, and I also knew that um that like Ben was kind of his, I guess, protege at the time. So I interviewed Ben about Andrew, and I will say this about Ben. I think back in the day, he was really good and really spot on. And I think he still has potential to redeem himself.
I
But
heard.
I think he really suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, and that's his ultimate problem, just like
Yeah, yeah.
Glenn Beck.
I heard that. I heard that from a very semi-reliable source that Ben Shapiro is still a virgin.
I don't think he is. So you know what I
I
think?
believe it.
I think I he's not. He's got a couple kids. But
Well,
He
I
says
think
there
heard.
is. He
I
says
also
there
heard.
is.
Yeah, I also heard that he got that he got his wife pregnant via a turkey baster. So that's a very.
dude, oh come on. Don't yeah, no. You know what I think got to everybody that we're talking about? I gotta go in a second, but I had so much fun tonight. But I think what happened to every single one we're discussing is their overt narcissism came out. With Cernovich, it was like over the top. And I couldn't even listen to these guys anymore because something started growing inside of them. Whereas before, when they were newbies, they were really fun to listen to and they were really smart. And it was stimulating conversation. And then once they made it and they became like to us, a household name, they went off the deep end with their ego, and they're great
Very well put.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very well put. The curse of the e-celeb, I guess.
Yeah,
We're all doomed.
because Ben Shapiro's wife is a doctor, so I heard she tried to become a doctor so she could figure out how to have kids without actually fucking Ben.
well, I also Ben admitted to me that Andrew would always sneak into his office at Breitbart and like post Playboy centerfolds on
I
Ben's
would do
cubicle,
that. That's funny.
on
That's
Ben's
not very kosher.
and then just like stand behind Ben and like whisper something like boobies or something like that, because Andrew had the sense of humor of like a 13-year-old boy. So, which I mean that's what I would do if I were working with Ben Shapiro. I would just be
Yeah.
I would just be going up to Ben every 5 minutes and just whispering boobs and just like probably triggering him or something like that. So
Well, speaking of right-wing e-celebs, I want to pivot to one more thing, which is that Lauren Southern is back.
And she's got dark hair.
She is back and rocking a brunette, her natural hair,
Oh man,
There you
probably.
go.
I got so
Oh,
excited, Dex.
man. And that
They're
video.
saying she's rocking black hair for Black Lives Matters.
Well, I've heard some rumors about her that could kind of corroborate that in a different way. I'll leave it at that. But her video, and there's a lot because, well, I'll give you some context. When we interviewed Milo on our channel, it was after he wrote that article about these two cameramen that were in right-wing circles. Now they were basically trying to sabotage it, take money, dox people, and ruin people's lives. They're total phonies. They took money from Tommy Robinson. They tried to dox. I think they did dox Gab McGinnis, and Lauren Southern knew what they were doing, and she kept them around. And I think she even did some other stuff. I don't know how deep it goes, but she comes out with this video of, oh, I'm back, guys. Oh, I was just taking time off with the kids because I was pregnant. I found a guy. She didn't really dive deep into like her husband much. Like, oh, I found him and he's like so magical. It's just like, oh yeah, I had kids. Which I kind of think the first pregnancy was a bit unplanned. That's my guess. Not saying it's true, but that's my guess. She has a second kid on the way now. And she's like, oh, I'm going to be looking at things objectively. I'm going to be going in, making documentaries, not with my opinion going into it, but going in with an open mind and asking questions as if I don't know what's going on. And the whole video, something felt off about her, and it felt so freaking fake. It was like the fakest thing I've ever seen. I didn't buy a single word she said from the second it started. And man, Paul Joseph Watson's Twitter, if nobody's watching this, that timeline is savage.
I saw that because you were posting them in the Versa Media Discord, and I have to admit, like I said, I was kind of depressed because of the Black Lives, because of the whole country burning down.
Yeah, me too.
But I will say, Sean, that you made my day that day just by posting those, because like I was like, I haven't been this depressed in a while because of the whole country burning down. So let me just put that in context. But I was laughing my ass off reading that like tweet stream of Paul Joseph Watson. So.
Well, the thing is, the lore behind that is something Milo revealed on the kill stream, which is that Paul Joseph Watson slept with Lauren Southern, and I don't blame him for a second for doing that. But when he did do it, Lauren did what Lauren always does to guys in right-wing circles, is she left them the next morning high and dry. But with Paul, she left him with something a little special, which was a little bracelet that had 1488 written on it. And for those who don't know, it's a white supremacist number code thing. And she did as, I guess, some like super edgy joke, but Paul did not like that one bit. And he knows a bunch of other shit apparently about Lauren Southern, so it's a fascinating fucking thing. I'll pull up the tweets because they're hilarious, but he was just unloading because she was deleting YouTube comments, calling her out on her past, and she would not reply to him about anything privately, and she leaked screenshots of the private conversations.
I think they just need to sleep again and sleep with each other again and just end the whole, the sexual repression, because there's definitely some tension there.
There is tension.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, wasn't it you who was who DM'd me and was like, I hate to break it to you, Sam, but your wife is already married, or I don't know if that was you or something.
That doesn't mean shit. She's
and then I said something like, I'm like, oh, that's okay. Millie Weaver is the one I'm actually after. So, and actually, that's not even the case anymore, because if people follow my Twitter, then you know what I'm up to. So,
ooh. Sam's
hey,
busy.
this is boy talk. I'm gonna go, you guys, because I'm not a lesbian.
Oh, okay. What were you gonna
really,
say,
I
Alex?
So it looks like we got her scared away with all that locker room banter.
No,
locker room talk.
And that toxic masculinity. So.
Oh, give me some of that. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go now, but thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Have a great night.
All right, have a good one.
Okay.
So all of our women are gone. Now we can really have some fun.
Now we can get to the man talk, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The fucking man talk.
So Lauren Southern, yes, she slept with every right-wing guy in every single freaking part of the world and got material from them. They ghost wrote for her.
She's like the fucking birthday cake at a party. Everybody's getting a piece.
Except us.
But we weren't at the birthday party, so
yeah, we weren't invited.
Hey, I'm trying to get more female guests on the Whitfield report. I really am trying, but
You should get
it,
Donnie, man. I was actually going to tell you that
Yeah.
earlier. You should bring Donnie on.
I do want to get Donnie on. I'm going to. But I need to DM her because I was lazy and semi-depressed this week, admittedly.
Here's what Paul said on Twitter, by the way. I'll cheer you up. Replaying these greatest hits. I mean, this is the best E-drama ever happening right now. He said, I'm not releasing the full Lord Southern info. And then parentheses, he goes, it's pretty bad because she broke the code and released private DMs, which is unforgivable. Also, she went mute after I asked her why she was deleting YouTube comments. Why are you deleting them at Lauren Southern? And then he said, also, I'm totally releasing all the Lauren Southern info unless she films herself taking a knee and apologizing to me.
Yeah, totally.
Fucking A. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Literally everyone asks, are you okay every time I challenge anyone on Twitter? Yes, I'm doing fucking fantastic. Stop sending these cringe messages. I'm having fun. It's all bullshit. We're all gonna die. Stop freaking out.
They're that couple that's like in high school that they're like into each other, but they're like,
But they hate each other.
like, yeah, it's like, will you two just fucking get it over with? Jesus.
Oh god, it's just hilarious. And his original tweet, oh yeah, he challenged her to a debate too. Oh my god. Yeah, and then Lauren started like either deleting or hiding her like tweet replies. And he literally says, like, it can't believe you even said this. He goes, this thought Lauren Southern challenged me, yet ended up deleting literally all of her tweets because she's a fraud. I respect people who stand by their positions, whether left or right, but evidently she doesn't have the fortitude to do that. Very disappointing. Also, there's a code which you don't leak private messages without permission. That's what Lauren did, which is pathetic. I'll be making a full response video unless she publicly apologizes to me for her dreadful behavior. If not, it's on. It's drama, and I will escalate.
Oh shit, it's going down.
Yeah.
Oh god. Spicy.
Very spicy.
Yeah, he literally said, debate me, bitch. You know I will win.
She probably. There's a good chance. What are the chances that she came back on? Because like, she's not being satisfied anymore in her present situation.
No, I know what you mean.
Or some sort of excitement or whatever.
That's the thing is, why is she really back?
Yeah.
Why? And will she give up her thought he passed?
Well, this is what I'm saying, because if she's doing it, like if she's an thought, then she's probably doing this for some action. Like, she's apparently, if she vanished because she got married and was having a couple of kids, and now she's back all of a sudden, I don't know. Maybe there's no more exciting personal life, and then trying to look for something. I don't know.
Well, like I told you guys before, I mean, I blew it because a friend of mine wanted to hook me up with Laura Loomer. So, if I had played my cards right, I could have been Mr. Laura Loomer or something like
Mr.
that.
Sam Loomer.
I would have made her change mine.
Wow. What a trad.
I actually told my mom that, and she's like, "Really?" She's like, and my mom's like, "Why didn't you?" I'm like, I'm like, I didn't know how you would feel about about my kids being half Jewish, and my mom's like, I don't care. I just want you to.
That's not very progressive of you, Sam.
I just want you to have kids at this point, so.
The tweet that started this all from Paul was when he said right-wing YouTuber suddenly, quote, returns, claiming to be an nuanced centrist having disappeared at the exact point where everyone else was fucked over and banned for the last 18 months, having thrown them under the bus by funding the very people responsible for that. That's in reference to the cameramen. Inauthentic. And then the replies, he just digs in. He's like, also, why are you deleting response on your YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And then that's when Lauren shows the screenshot that Paul, that he was like, the messages he sent her on WhatsApp, and it looks like he's asking about deleting comments on the video, and then he just goes, can't answer, fraud, disappointed, so disappointed, you can't answer, so pathetic, Jesus, just allow the comments, it's not hard, pathetic, how dare you, fuck off, leave me alone. Thought higher of you, but after tonight, no. Just have a family life, enjoy it, and protect your kid. Much respect for that, but otherwise, fuck off.
Yikes.
Can I ask? Didn't Paul actually like lose a kid, and like I thought he had a daughter, and then the daughter like died of crib death or something, like, you know, like sad
What?
like that.
Really?
Yeah, I could have sworn that like Paul was like, I'm not saying this to be like edgy or anything like that, but like I could have legitimately sworn that Paul Joseph Watson was married like a few years ago, and then he had a daughter, and then like she died the same day she was born or something like really sad like that, and it like broke him and his wife apart at the time, understandably.
Huh?
So,
Yeah, I had not heard of that at all. I've always liked Paul. He's awesome.
I actually liked him better than I liked Alex for a while, because
Same.
like I always said, I for the longest time I thought Alex was like a crazy 9/11, you know, conspiracy guy, so I never really liked him. But then Paul would always come and I would always watch him, and I was like, okay, this guy is good. And it was only once I heard Alex on Joe Rogan that I gave him another chance. So
yeah, and actually it's funny. I'm on Lauren Southern's Twitter page, and you want to know, it comes up on the right with you might also like, and it lists some accounts. And usually, like with, like, let's say Trump, it'll list like some of his kids or his associates. For Lauren Southern, it shows only one person, Richard Spencer.
oh shit.
It would have been funny if they had Paul Joseph Watson on there. But yeah, they just have Richard Spencer there.
That's weird, right? That like Gavin McGinnis and like all these other people are banned, but Richard Spencer is somehow like still on.
It's almost like he's not influential. It's almost like they need him. The left, that is.
It's almost like he and Nick Fuentes are on the payroll of the radical left.
So you think they're both feds?
I mean, in Minecraft, allegedly, I'll just say, I'll just say allegedly for right now. But
well, my
you know,
claims that Spencer's a fed.
I've been proven right before. I mean, let me ask you this. Why is Richard Spencer famous? Okay, that's the first question. And then, where did Nick Fuentes come from? Why is he famous? Why is like a 22-year-old kid who no one's ever heard of suddenly become like a quote unquote overnight, you know, success? And, you know,
well, Nick's a bit different because I'd known about him before the Groyper Wars, and he had a growing channel that was doing quite well. But what really kicked things off was when Charlie Kirk his security team wouldn't let him take a picture of him and wouldn't let him into that event. And that started trending big time because it was like, oh, why is this conservative guy keeping people out of events? And then Nick started encouraging Groypers to do certain things at his events. So his claim to fame was pretty organic, and it's not like it came out of nowhere, but I do know what you mean, though.
And And to be fair, I know you got well actually, this is a bad topic to bring up on air, but I'll just say I don't like Charlie Kirk personally because of some stuff that he did to my friends, which I've shared with you guys about privately.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like Charlie Kirk, but I do like some of the people that work for Turning Point, most notably you guys, even though I guess now
Not anymore.
you
Well, we were different though. Like I mean, yeah, we were kind of Turning Point, but we really weren't. Like we had our own, like we definitely had our own personality.
dictate.
It wasn't like we were just right along the line because we've had a couple. We had that one speaking event that I think we went completely against the grain as far as TP went. Like they did not want. I don't think they wanted that speaking event at all. And
No,
just like,
they didn't
well,
want us
fuck it.
bringing
So-
Sargon.
We're doing it anyway.
Okay. I hate to blast the fucking doors off the hinges then, but can I ask you, what's your opinion of TPUSA now as graduates? Let me just ask that.
I think that the local people are good, like the local groups are fine, but the problem is the national organization. It's kind of like the college Republicans, you know, just Republicans in general.
Well, the college Republicans are different though because I think the college Republicans are more. It's like I think I kind of agree with that. Like the Turning Point is kind of like it's a separate, like the local chapters are a separate identity from the national
Yep.
identity. Like you have like a lot of these groups that have their own thing going on, and then it's like kind of different from the national level. And then you have like, well, college Republicans, and I said this today in another chat somewhere else. I'd like the CRs, they're basically representative of the establishment, but Republicans, which are they're weak as fuck. Like they're just like weak pushover bitches. Like and like they just have they'll simp to anything, like anything at all. You know, they avoid conflict. There's no friction. There's no standing up for what I believe in. It's just like, well,
It's everything wrong with the Republican Party in one.
They
club.
are absolutely the local Republic, like with Penn State, the local college Republican issues are the same fucking issues as the national, like in terms of
where these people come from.
And they're grooming. It's like the pedophile groomers. They're just grooming them up to be more fucking weirdos when they get older. Like, and that's exactly what we're doing. Because you see it. We've seen it in the years that we were there. They're just the same. They're just the same shady, backstabbing pieces of shit that the establishment fucking Republicans are. It's just like This is part why we feel like Trump is probably the greatest Republican maybe in our lifetime, because he's not your traditional Republican. He's tough. He stands up. He pushes back, and this is something like he is this beacon of strength in a fucking place that sorely needs it. And it's like we know this, and yet it's like the same shit. It's just the same shit with the college Republicans. It's like, well, did you not see the 2016 election? Did you not see the 2018 election? There's a difference between strength and sheer weakness, and you guys are fucking weak.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really what's weird and sad to me both is that, like, okay, so Andrew Breitbart talks a lot about, in that CPAC speech, he talks about unity, right? And I feel like in 2016 there was really that push of like, okay, yeah, there are different groups like Turning Point and the College Republicans and like Yale, and well, Yale wasn't really a thing in 2016, but you know,
They still
point.
are.
Yeah, the sad thing is that like technically I'm still affiliated with them, and yet I just bash them all the time.
That's straight
I
up
don't.
yeah right there. You can bash them all
I
you want, but they'll still invite you to their fucking conferences because they're so desperate.
I got another text message from my I guess like state head today,
Yeah, my
and
girlfriend did too.
He's like Operation Win at the Door is hiring for July. I'm like nah, I'm not traveling right now. So but no, back to my original point though. Like back then, like the College Republicans and Turning Point, and I guess like early Yale, like we were all kind of united. Like, okay, we have to get behind Trump, and we have to get behind the conservative movement just to beat Hillary. And now there's not really that unity push anymore.
That's
in
what
20.
happens when you get what you want. Like groups, when we
I
had a
don't even
common
think it was
goal.
that. But
Well,
it wasn't like that at Penn State, though, was it? It was
well,
like
but
a
Penn
fucking-
State was an exception because it was one of the few. I mean, look, CRs are kind of establishment-y in many places, but Penn State was one of the few, very few, that did not endorse Trump. And there was, look, and Alex can attest to this, there was a lot of unity in 2016. Other than the CRs and
yeah,
some
it
other
wasn't
establishment
CR.
groups.
It was the Trump Club and all that other shit. Like it wasn't.
Well, but here's the thing. The Trump Club, after, again, this is what happens with a common cause, is like all these different fractions come together and get it, and then they split off. After after Trump got in, you had people splitting back into their libertarian shit. That's where we got somebody starting Yell Up. You had people splitting off into Turning Point and starting that, which was kind of libertarian, I guess, at the time, kind of, barely. I don't even know if I'd call it that, but whatever. And then you had people even going full on alt-right. Then you had people like me that stayed pro-Trump and maybe evolved on some positions. But there definitely was a split, a fracture, and it has remained that way. And there is some level of unity, but right now it is not as unified as 2016 by any fucking stretch of the imagination. And that's for a whole bunch of reasons. But to answer your question, because I'm going to have to shut down the stream soon, is my opinion of Turning Point is still the same. The boots on the ground at the local levels, the students are fantastic. A lot of the field reps are fantastic. The higher ups in the national part of Turning Point, like Phil said perfectly, is they have a different identity. They are disconnected with the local chapters, and what they think is cool is not what the students think is cool. And that doesn't mean they should be bringing Nick Fuentes around on speaking gigs. No, that's most people do not like Nick Fuentes, but he has a strong cult following for sure. But they should be bringing people around like Gavin McInnes, Alex Jones, Milo, Crowder, even though Crowder goes through YAF, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But they should be getting people like that, not Rob Smith, not Alex Clark. People don't know who these people are, okay? And nobody cares. And you're gonna manufacture people that don't really have their heart and soul in it like others do, and that's part of the problem. And that's why I was starting my little club before Corona screwed everything up. But yeah, college Republicans are shit at Penn State, and they're shit in a lot of places. I mean, I was even talking to my boss today at work, and he was telling me like, yeah, the CRs in my school were basically just like they drank every weekend. I was like, ours used to do that. Now they don't even do that.
Well, That's interesting. Speaking of Gavin, one thing I want to ask you guys about, kind of, I guess, for our final segment, is something that concerns me greatly. So, folks, we at Verse Media / the Whitfield Report and several other podcasts, we use Discord to do voice calls and other things, like, you know, share photos, share show notes, everything like that, and several other and just to chat in general. And recently, well, yesterday actually, Discord sent out a disclaimer basically saying that they were going to start shutting down controversial Discords. What do you guys think about all that? And do you guys have any reactions?
Well, it's on par with any sort of tech company. Like, look at what
Yeah.
Discord was saying for years. Like, I think Mr. Medicare did a video on that about why he wasn't going to Discord, because, like, the people who run it are a bunch of furries. You know, like, there's been, like, videos and evidence. Like, you can look up YouTube for, like, Discord furry, where they have brought up, like, the fact that there's furries grooming children on these servers and, like, doing a lot of disgusting acts, and the Discord staff just ignore it for the most part. And they even go so as much as to go and tell them that, like, hey, you know, this is being, like, anti-gay or whatever, anti-LGBT. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff about that.
That must be why Milo put his persona as his avatar on Discord. That makes sense now. I love Discord. It's the best platform for communication. But yeah, like Alex said, like what they said in that statement just didn't surprise me. It's stuff they said before. I'm not concerned per se, but I could see them banning more moderate stuff. I mean, they really haven't done that. They've only kind of banned. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but they actually pretty much have only banned the legit wignats. But who knows? I mean, they had that big purge after Charlottesville. Again, it was with a lot of white supremacists, but it can get, you know, when you get rid of those people, the new extreme are just people that like freedom and capitalism and Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. For me, it's like a case of, there are Discords I'm in, like, you know, your guys' Discord and Gavin McGinnis's Discord, where, you know, like, I just go in there to meet people, and, like, we don't even talk politics. Like, yeah, we all share the same political views, but, like, more often than not, we're just talking, like, you know, life stories, or like what type of, you know, music or, you know, movies and stuff that we all like, and what, you know, just like everyday stuff, because we've all been, you know, we've all kind of been like marginalized now because we're all conservatives. So now our social lives, kind of, at least, you know, where we can be open about it, is now online. So
yeah, and it would be tragic if they start going after like some moderate stuff. Like, that'll kill their platform for a lot of people. But they've grown rapidly. I remember Alex and I were one of the early adopters of it, and it is a great platform. Like, that's the problem with this, is what conservatives need to understand, is like the problem with these big tech companies and their tyrannical powers is that, let's say you get banned from like Google Docs or something. What's the fucking alternative? There is nothing on the internet that comes close to Google Docs. There are alternatives, but they suck. And I mean, maybe the other things like Microsoft Word, but that's freaking it. It's like with these like personal payment things, like Venmo. Okay, you get banned for, like, Laura Loomer. She's banned from Venmo, Cash App, all these things. There's not enough competition, and the other competition is out there freaking sucks beyond the mainstream. And that's the problem, is like, we're beholden to using platforms that are the best platforms, but they hate us. So
yeah, that's a sad thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else. I'm already forgetting it, but oh yeah, it was something I want to talk to you off air about. But which we'll get into.
Sure.
But any other final thoughts before we close out for tonight?
No, I can't think of anything.
We will see you guys next week.
Take it easy.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
was a great stream as always, and always nice to simulcast with you, Sam.
Yeah, we have 14 people in here, and we had 20 at one point. So we had 20 people on the first hour and 20 people on the second hour, and also for those of you who are wondering when I'm going to put out the audio podcast, I've started recording the audio directly to my computer for these, so I'll just be able to manually put them up because YouTube is still holding up my streams in processing purgatory.
Yeah.
So I've just taken the initiative to record the streams manually if I can. So Yep.
That's the sad reality of it. But we'll see you guys next time for another Real News Anarchy, and we'll keep watching the chop and keep you guys up to date on everything. So as always, have a lovely day in whatever this country is becoming, and wash your fucking hands still.
Yep, God, freedom, legacy in that order, as my friend John Nero used to say, and God bless America. I'm never gonna stop saying it until even when Antifa does try and kill me, I'll never stop saying that. God bless America and fuck Antifa. So
Amen.
Bye.
And we are off air.